Hello, my friends. I had a very interesting exchange in the comments with somebody who they gave a very good critique of something to do with my videos. I'm not going to name who it was or say anything more about it. You know who you are. And this person was a great teacher for me, because it was a reminder of how in my response, which was not aggressive, but rather was listening, because I knew I had to listen to this person, and their response, which also was caring and listening, and back and forth, the result was a really, really great connection. Now, this is not usually how the world goes, right? When people come out here and they're going to take the forest monk training, there's a principle that I call strength requires resistance. And what that means is that, well, in physical context, it's pretty easy to understand. If I have muscle pressing this way and something comes up to meet it, then what happens? I can engage my muscle. If we are ground fighting and someone's pressing down really hard and we press back, I allow their muscles to fire. So in a strange way, by resisting that pressure directly, which is our default kind of mechanism, to resist that directly, when I resist that directly, I give the person power. Before I go any further, you're probably seeing already that there's a hole in this. This works in muscle really well, but what about when we're talking about mental, emotional type of things, or a government that's oppressing a people? It is definitely possible to apply force and pressure without resistance, and it can be very damaging. You can think of many instances where this can happen. However, in many of the experiences that we're going to have in life, we're going to find that we give the aggressive force, whether that's muscle coming in towards us, or it is harsh words, somebody flipping us off as we're driving by, we, through our resistance, give that power. There's a foundational martial arts exercise that we practice, and I unfortunately don't have anyone here with me to be the aggressor, but what we do is we just start out by pressing. You can do this with your eyes closed even. The other person standing here is going to press against my shoulder, and what I want to do is I want to feel that pressure and just release to it. Not way back, I'm not trying to do the matrix, I'm just releasing enough so that when they're trying to apply force and pressure, they don't have anything for that muscle to engage with. And in that way, we learn, by just being able to move and bend our body, to be able to dissipate a lot of force that's coming in at us. That's a very static exercise, and it's not applicable to real life in a sense, but if we can start to retrain ourselves, because in martial arts, often a skilled fighter is going to apply pressure, and what they are depending on is for you to resist that pressure. When you resist, you're giving them the force that they want and the energy they want, and they know then, by applying it and then selectively releasing it, they can bring you in, for instance, for that rear naked choke. So, thinking about this as it applies to the rest of life, another easy place to see it is you're driving down the road and someone gives you the finger. Now, for many of us, this is going to create a state of resistance, or we're going to fall into a state of resistance. And I might take that, look, the simple action of someone raising a finger, it could be any finger, right? And culturally it's our middle finger, that goes out into the air, here it comes, and I take that into me. I might carry that all day long and think, ah, it just is pissing me off that that person did that. And it's just some random person. In fact, they might have been giving the finger to the person in the car next to you. You didn't even notice that, but you've taken it into yourself. And we can do this in so many ways. Something comes into us and we push back against it. In that pushing back, then we create an inner turmoil, an inner resistance. We see this with people who are feeling very angry, let's say, about the government. And I can sit here in my living room and I can stew and be angry about the government and go into forums and write angry replies and this. But really the only person I'm doing damage to is myself, releasing all kinds of stress hormones and creating a negative state inside my body. Instead, could I look and say, look, I'm displeased with this and this aspect of my government. How can I become an advocate for change? And then, selectively, consciously applying my energy towards creating change. This can happen in a marriage. Maybe you're in a marriage that's kind of on the rocks. And you guys come together and the one person kind of, we get to know how to dig into each other, starts the digging, and then we respond with pressure back, and that gives them the strength they're looking for, so they press back, and pretty soon we're just in this pressure game, fighting each other. The same pattern that we've been carrying on for years, maybe. Pressing, 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 using all kinds of life energy just in repeating a cycle of conflict and resistance. What happens if they press, 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 and then you do something, you yield to that somehow. You dissipate that energy, and you say, hey, you know what? We've been repeating this cycle for a long time, and is there a different way we could do this? Because I want to hear you. There's something inside you that's dissatisfied, and I want to hear that. Now you've dissipated that usual energy, and there's a chance for a conversation to happen. But it is amazing how much this resistance power has been, I was going to say bred into us, but essentially just conditioned into us. So much so that it can feel almost impossible to break out of it. This is the same thing that happens with emotions. I might begin to feel a little bit of frustration about whatever the situation is. Let's say my daughters are being really loud in the yurt, and I start to feel a little bit of frustration. Now, by resisting, by having resistance to that experience, that feeling, I then start to build up the frustration. We all know what this feels like. It builds up and it builds up, and then I can snap. Where if I dissipate that energy, maybe I start running around and playing with them. Or I sit down and I say, hey, could we all circle up? I just really need to share that this energy is just not working for me right now. And if we could have 5 minutes of silence or quiet, it would do just wonders for me. Then I can shift this. I can actively take a response instead of a reaction to whatever situation that's unfolding in my life. And I can dissipate those oncoming energies. I can transform those oncoming energies. For you, I don't know what it is for you, but probably somewhere in your life, there's some kind of an energy coming into your life, whether it's a coworker that gets on your nerves, or it's a child that you're having problem with, or it's a health issue that you're facing. Something is in your life that you have the ability to resist and press back against. And when you resist, you continue to give it strength. Remember, the opposite of resistance is not passivity. It's dissipating that aggressive energy or transforming that aggressive energy. So whatever that is in your life that's making you feel clenched, here's a chance to, instead of having that habitual resistance that just creates inner tension or gives the aggressive force power, what can you do to dissipate or transform that energy? It takes some creative thinking. It takes a shift of paradigm. And it takes breaking old habits that are going to say, push back, push back, push back. For me, it's as if I could not learn. My head was so thick that for decades I feel like I had to push back against so many things in my life before I really discovered that there was another way. That by pushing back, I was just giving the other thing the strength it was seeking. So, what is it in your life, I would love to hear in the comments, that you are resisting, and how could you dissipate it? How could you transform it? Really get into your creative mind, your inner wisdom here. And if you share this in the comments, what we're going to have down there is a treasure trove of people saying, look, I've been facing this addiction, or I've been facing this partner in my life who just has been feeling like they're in my face all the time. And if you share how you transform that, we might see from all of your examples how we can make these transformations in our life. That will give hope and real life tools to those of us that feel caught in some of these places. Because very often, when we are caught someplace, we are part of the catching, because we are actively resisting something. Almost all situations, we have the ability to transform it, to get out of that situation, to alter it, to somehow make it different. Not in all. You might have a chronic disease that gives you no quarter. Still, sometimes we can transform how we react to the pain of something like that. I got a chance during that with my shoulder surgery of being in relatively short-term pain for just a few weeks, but being able to see, can I turn this pain that's constantly on me into something different? And it can be done. All of us can do it. Still, I know your situation may not be applicable here, but if it is, please share in the comments, open up, and hopefully we can learn from each other. Thank you, my friends, as always, and a special thank you to you who initiated this thought with your comment and the wonderful exchange that followed. Much gratitude. All right, love to you all.